We'll take the foreplay as read.
I'm glad no one saw that. People might talk.
What the fuck is he on about? Fuck are you on about? Inconceivable!
It's a free country, don't you know that?
I didn't know it was that free.
Don't make people into heroes.
Fuck you. I can live my own life in my own way if I want to.
Thank you for listening to Shilling for Your Thoughts. I'm your host, Heidi Shilling. I have two awesome guests with me today. I have
Prudence,
and
Liz Todd.
Liz, Todd, and Prudence. So what are you guys on? What are you going to talk about today?
So today I thought we would talk about cosplay masquerade, which is when you perform at a Comic-Con in a cosplay you made.
Okay, and for people that don't know much about cosplay, give us a synopsis. What's cosplay? What's costume? Disney bound? Where does that fall?
Cosplaying, I think, involves not only just a costume, but you also, try and act like the character, be in character. And it can be, cosplaying can be something that you made or something that you partially made or something that you bought as well. I think you kind of draw the line with Disney bounding, where, Disney bounding is more like street clothes, where, like, if you would wear it out just normally,
and it just happens to
right, and it just happens to invoke, like, a certain character. That's more of, like, Disney bounding. And then, you kind of have cos bounding, which is in between, which, it's kind of like street
More
clothes
intense,
inspired,
yeah.
but yeah, maybe you do like makeup, maybe you wear like a wig to go with it, something like that.
And then like the total definition for the people completely out of the loop, cosplay is short for costume play. So costumes in my mind are like things that you buy, you wear to Halloween or something like that.
Halloween.
Cosplay is not only where most people make their costumes, but you can buy cosplays, but it's when you envelop a character. Like, you're not just wearing a costume and like, oh yeah, I'm Prue, I'm dressed as so-and-so today. It's like,
Gotcha,
no,
you're
I
going
am
all
the evil
in.
queen.
Okay, very cool. And I know you guys do a lot of conventions, you go to a lot of things like that. You just came back from one recently. How was that? What was that one that you guys just did?
So we went to WonderCon, which is in Anaheim. It's like right next to Disneyland at the Anaheim Convention Center. It's like the little sister to San Diego Comic-Con, which is, like the big daddy of
the big
Comic-Cons. Deal. And it was amazing.
WonderCon was wonderful.
Wonderful.
What was your guys' favorite part of that compared to other cons that you've done? Like, what made this one stand out to you?
Other than the weather?
Other than the weather.
The weather was beautiful.
I was going to say, you guys had like the perfect time.
The weather was perfect. I think, so we participated in WonderCon's masquerade together in a group. And it was by far the most well-organized and smoothest masquerade that we have ever been a part of.
Very cool.
But the convention itself too, like they have their ducks in a line. Like they got people in with like no security lines. It was very safe. Everyone was in a good mood. Like you can tell when an entire group of 20,000 people are in a good mood versus when everyone is miserable.
Versus Phoenix Con.
Exactly.
I mean, so what were the costumes or the cosplays that you designed this time for this particular convention?
So WonderCon has a little bit different than other Comic-Cons we've attended around.
Okay.
They have a rule where you're not allowed to wear your costume during the day before the competition, because normally we would like wear our cosplays when we head there and we could walk around and be like, come see us tonight, we're going to be dressed just like this. But they're more about the get dressed there, backstage, don't let anyone see you, so that it's a surprise to the audience.
Surprise. Okay.
Which makes sense when you have 3,000 people who stay late on a Saturday after an all day to like see these amazing things.
Yeah, that does make sense.
They're very much about the big reveal. So this time we were in a group where we were the Sanderson sisters from Hocus Pocus. So I was Sarah Sanderson.
I was Mary Sanderson, and together we made our friend Winifred Sanderson.
Mm-hmm. So we each made our own, and then we kind of divided and conquered with Winifred and put that together for our friend who was perfect for the role and just happened to be into the idea of doing it as well.
She definitely invoked Bette Midler on the stage.
Yes,
That's
definitely.
Awesome. How long did those take you guys to make those costumes?
We started in October, like the beginning of October, and like made most of them by Halloween.
They were mostly done by Halloween.
Because you debuted them for Halloween, kind of like as your trial run.
Right. And we wanted to get some pictures of them for this reason to send in for approval.
Okay.
Yeah, so WonderCon, they have a rule where not anyone can enter. They pick, like, the top 35 people that they send in. So we had to send in pictures that, our costumes are mostly done. It's this level of craftsmanship. And then once they chose us as finalists and, like, emailed us back, I was like, okay, well, remember those costumes that we, got to the point where we could wear them? Let's make them perfect now, because now they're going to be judged. Okay. So that was probably, like, February, I think. February, we got yes, you're finalists. So from then until the end of March, we were focused on making them more screen accurate for judging, and just adding little details, fixing seams, making sure that they are perfect, because at a masquerade, they don't just judge your performance, they also judge how, like, perfect you can get these costumes.
Okay. So they're kind of like, do you walk up to the judges and do you let them see, like, the craftsmanship, or are they viewing you from afar?
There is a pre-judging where you do get to meet the judges close up. There's almost always 3 judges for a masquerade. I've very rarely seen a different number than that for the ones I've done. But you do get to meet them close up, and they will kind of look at all of your seams. They will ask you, what's the thing that you're proudest of? What do you really want us to take notice of?
What's, like, a technique that's different that you used on this?
Any details you want us to know about, things like that. So this is where you would mention, this is hand sewn. This is done by machine. You would bring up the embroidery, any sort of embellishments that you put in there that you think really make your costume stand out.
For instance, with Winifred, on, like, her underdress that I made, I burnt the hem with, like, a lighter and other stuff so that it gave, like, that image. And then I gave them, the reason I did that was because it looks like she came from, like, the Bernie fires of hell. Like, you pick, like, design choices like that at multiple masquerades. Like, you try and do something to stand out. So that was just, like, one example from our most recent that I did.
They do kind of get up in your business too a little bit. Like, they'll be going into, you're wearing the costume, they'll be lifting up the hems and stuff and looking,
you're like, oh my,
right? Looking in the
wore
sleeves.
underwear.
At one point, I had a judge, like, under my cape.
Oh my gosh, you're like, how's the weather in there? So have you guys been doing this for a long time? Because I think you've been doing this a little bit longer, maybe.
About 3 years now.
Okay.
I think the first one was Phoenix Comic-Con, back when it was called Phoenix Comic-Con. 2015?
No, 15 is when we met. So 2016
2016
was our first competition.
Yeah, and we both competed then.
Before you were competing, though, were you doing this for fun at all?
Yeah, I was kind of constructing things just for fun. Honestly, competing had never crossed my mind until, somebody, a certain costume of mine really inspired someone that I know who will remain nameless. And she basically said, I heard about this competition, you should enter, this is beautiful.
Oh, wow.
So I did, and we both entered that one, different costumes, and I think we were just hooked. The performance and the competition was so much fun that we were like, we can't wait to do this next year, and we started branching out into other conventions that do this too.
Oh, wow. Did you, were you taught by somebody, Liz, or how did you learn how to make cosplay?
I am entirely self-taught
Very cool.
in sewing. It was just something that in college, I started hand sewing because there were a couple winter hats I wanted to make because I went to school up in Flagstaff and it was cold. And then, as I started branching out into other tutorials, I saw people who do make their own costumes. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. So I bought myself a cheap sewing machine and just a lot of trial and error and wasted fabric later. And
that's how you do it.
Pretty decent seamstress now.
And then,
I would definitely say so.
I would say my reason for starting is because of this lovely lady sitting next to me. My first cosplay that I entered in the competition with her, I basically pieced stuff together, and I had some hand sewn, and I had a lot of things glued together because I didn't know how to use a sewing machine. And I did not win my first competition, and she did because she was gorgeous. Like, go look up the YouTube tutorials. But, so then I was like, okay, well, next year I need to step up my game. So literally all of my reason for learning to sew is because I'm trying to catch up to the talent sitting next to me.
Mm-hmm. A likely story, yes.
So I think you guys both kind of went from making most of it to now making basically everything. All of your stuff is done, like you don't really have anything that's bought or,
I can't do it anymore.
I do commission things every now and then. One thing that, jewelry making is a weak point for me.
Okay.
I don't enjoy it. I'm not very good at it. I would like to get better at it someday, but my sister, it happens to be wonderful, so I do commission her to make a lot of my cosplay jewelry.
There you go.
And she makes it look so easy too, but I do pay her for her work, which is only fair.
Yeah. Like, I don't make her work for free.
Yes.
I make my sister work for free. No, I just bribe her.
Yeah, no, I definitely make everything, and I miss the days in which I could just, buy something. It was so much easier, and now I'm like, it's not good enough. I have to make it myself.
I have to make it myself.
I'm super competitive even with myself.
I've found that I really enjoy when I've made something from the ground up. Something that a project I'm working on right now for this summer. I have literally made from the ground up, made the Grand Panniers, made everything on top of it, and it's a really good feeling when you are like, you started with nothing and you can create something out of nothing.
Well, and when somebody says, oh my gosh, did you make that? You can be like, literally, I made it all. Which is, it's nice because you're like, well, I made this, but...
Right.
Because I don't really do cosplay, but I like to make my Halloween costumes or costumes for events that look more fun. And it is always like one of those things when people are like, did you make that? I'm like, well, I altered it. And they're like, well, I made this. And it's like, damn it. No, I didn't make the whole thing.
Yeah,
so.
that's definitely what happened to me. I used to alter everything and be like, yeah, I changed it up. And they're like, that's so cool. And I'm like, now I can't do that. I miss the days in which I could do that. But now I'm just like, I know I can make something, so I will, so I can have that moment of, yes, I made every piece of this.
I made it. So how much do you think you usually spend on each cosplay? I know they can be, like, dramatically different, but, what's the most you've ever spent on one?
Oh, yikes.
I refuse to count.
I will say the cheapest one I've ever made, I think, cost about $25, and I used a lot of materials I already had, and that's
Very cool.
that's pretty dirt cheap. For a costume, it was a very simple costume, so I mean.
Was that Briar Rose?
No, I think it was Ariel's sail dress, which is literally just
The same costume.
an eyelet and some rope and some fabric and a zipper, and
That was
$25.
$25?
Yeah. The rope
She
was
spends way more money than me, guys.
was not cheap.
No, I was gonna say, the rope is what costs
nautical rope was not cheap. That was like $20 worth of rope that I got for that.
That's crazy. I'd say if I do a simple costume and I do a lot of like fabric shopping at Goodwill, I could probably do about $20, but like my competition costumes, I refuse to think about my budget because it would make me sad. I try and buy like little pieces here and there over time, but I'm gonna say my most expensive was probably the Evil Queen from Snow White, and it's got to be like over $200.
Yeah.
And then, but I got like some fabric donated from a friend of mine who's a seamstress, and if she hadn't donated it to me, that fabric alone was, I think, $175 a yard. Oof. And she's like, you can have this. And I'm like, thank you.
Bless you.
It's so pretty.
What's your favorite, it doesn't have to be just one, like your favorite cosplays that you've created?
Oh, that's a tough one.
I'm really fond of our Sanderson sisters right now. But
the
I think
Sanderson sisters are a lot of fun.
It's so like new and exciting for us. It was not fun to make or research, but I think it's my favorite that we've performed in.
I think
for sure.
I would have to say probably one of the Elsas that I've done is one of my favorite ones to wear. All the embellishments are really fun. It took a long time to make, and seeing it come together, especially in the snow, was nice. By fun to wear, I mean, I feel like a queen, but man, is it uncomfortable. For sure.
It just adds to it. You're like, I have to be prim and proper, because if I bend, this pokes me.
Oh, definitely.
I think both of those costumes, those are ones that are really iconic and that a lot of people identify with, Elsa and the Sanderson sisters. So what's fun about that is when you walk somewhere, they know who you are.
Oh,
like,
that's the
you
best
walk
part.
into a convention, or even, if you're doing a photo shoot and you post those photos, people are like, oh my god, you look just like whatever character. Whereas sometimes with more obscure ones that are maybe ones you really want to do, but nobody will know about it, do you ever feel like, oh, well, if I do that, people won't know about it?
That is why we mostly do Disney costumes, is because the recognition, like, I personally love the feeling of being like, oh, you're my favorite, you look just like her, can I have a picture with you? And I'm like, yes, you can.
I love taking pictures with
Yeah.
people. Yeah, when they recognize who you are. I feel like a lot of those obscure characters I would like to do, but they're mostly more of a free time thing. We've kind of noticed too, not always, but in the masquerades, oftentimes the more mainstream characters are the ones that tend to place higher.
Yeah.
I think the audience definitely factors into it a little bit. That, you know, if they recognize you, they're cheering really loudly, and I think that does, you know, that can
helps with the
influence the
judges.
judges.
Definitely. Well, and I think even if it's something too obscure, a judge may not have much basis
Right.
for going off of, you know, they don't know that costume as well, they don't know all the pieces, so it's harder for them to judge on how well you actually
Especially
did.
since the judges have to find, like, they're not just going off of, oh, that's a pretty costume. They're looking for recreations.
Accuracy, yeah.
And accuracy. So if they know the character, it's better off. And I'm not saying, like, if you have a less quality costume, if it's more well-known, you'll have a better chance. You still have to have all of the quality for the judges and everything. But having a character that people know and having the audience like it definitely doesn't hurt.
For sure.
So it's a good thing that we like Disney so much and Disney is so popular. Because, I mean, there are definitely characters from more random things that I've thought about doing. And I'm like, I can do that for, like, a fun day. But I'm super competitive, so I'm only going to compete in something that I know people know.
What's your dream cosplay? If budget wasn't an issue, if time wasn't an issue.
I'm actually making 2 of my
You
dream
are?
cosplays right now. Yeah, I'm in the middle of them, and I hope I do them justice, like I've always wanted. But I have to say, you know, for future, you know, after these 2 are done, since they're already in process, I would say from Wicked, Glinda's blue bubble dress is one of my like absolute dreams.
That would be so fun
to do.
It's
And
my dream for her to do that.
I think it'll take a good year to do all the rhinestone work and all
absolutely,
that.
to
But
get it accurate.
yeah, that's one of the ones that I haven't started yet, and I'm kind of like, someday that'll
be your
someday
someday.
soon I'm gonna get to that one.
Sometime
about you,
before
Prue?
2020.
Yes.
My dream cosplay that I have no plans on doing anytime soon is I really want to do Ursula Justice from
Oh, absolutely. I think you would do
The Little
that.
Mermaid.
That would be fantastic.
I've done like bounds of her. I've done crossovers like a
You did a really
Sith Lord.
shitty
Yeah. I've done
one back in college
done,
for
like-
a capstone.
like costume-y words, but I know in the future when I know how to use the materials, I would love to make an underwater Ursula, like out of the silicone, like you see the mermaids and
Oh,
stuff.
that would be so much
But I'm like,
fun.
I am not going
That
to
would be very
attempt.
expensive.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. So I'm not going to attempt to do Ursula the way I want it done until I know I'm ready to do it. But I will probably always like do bounds or crossovers or simple versions just because I love the bad guys. The villains have more fun for me.
So it seems like with cosplay, there is a little bit of a community. Are you guys kind of involved with that at all?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, we love meeting other cosplayers at cons, and it seems like every time we go to a new one, there's a few people that we just like.
Adopt.
Yeah, we just stick to them like glue.
You
Like
just adopt people.
your costume is beautiful. We really like you. Like
Let's be friends.
we're friends now.
You can't get rid of us. And
So funny.
then we'll like start liking each other's things. And even we made a friend, and I'm pretty sure he lives in England, but I'm like, we're still going to follow each other.
Oh, T'Challa.
Yeah.
Oh, he is gorgeous.
He is the Black Panther.
Oh, he is for sure.
Where did you meet him? Was this just at WonderCon?
This was at WonderCon. It was like right when we got back from our pictures, right when we got off stage, that he, you know, I think he was like, I can't do the accent, so I'm not gonna. He was like, you guys were just excellent, you were perfect, and we were like, we like you a lot for some reason. Like, I can't put my finger on it, but no, he was just a delightful person, and like he wanted to get a selfie with us, and we were like, you know what, we're friends now. Like,
You're like, we're just friends.
I hope that's okay with you.
And a great part is because he was there for the masquerade, he was also in character and he had the voice and everything. But he, like, being able to talk like the Sanderson sisters to the Black Panther. He was like,
oh my
he
gosh,
was
how
like
fun.
in character. He invited the Sanderson sisters to Wakanda, and like we
Yes.
almost fainted.
Well, I think we were a little starstruck meeting
absolutely.
the king of Wakanda. We were, you know, all kind of like, oh, your majesty. And he's like, oh, no, ladies, you can call me T'Challa. Oh, gorgeous.
And like just being in character for me backstage and meeting other like people who like to be in character, like that's one of my favorite parts.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like a lot of fun. Do you guys think that there's any misconceptions people have about cosplay?
Yeah, I think so.
Or
I think
just like negative press, anything like that you guys
definitely for, I think, the ones that dress a little scantily clad. They, like, there's nothing wrong with it. If you're comfortable with your body, go for it and everything, especially if it's a character you love. But a lot of people who don't understand cosplay just see those ones and they're like, oh, so you like to... I'm like, actually, no. I like to wear 50 layers of skirts and
I was gonna say, most
glitter
of your
everywhere.
have been like skirt after skirt after skirt as I punch the table.
I think there are a lot of people who don't really get it too. They kind of have this like, why would you dress up outside of Halloween? That's a bit strange.
I'm sorry, they wear sports jerseys all year and scream at stuff.
That's definitely sports cosplay, in my opinion.
Yep.
Sports play.
So, do you ever get weird questions like how old are you? Do people think that you're younger than you are? Do they question like, what do you do for a living if you cosplay? Like, do you ever get anything like that? Because I've talked to some cosplayers that have had some really negative interactions when they tell people that they cosplay. Have you ever had anything like that happen to you?
My work kind of vaguely knows that they definitely know I sew and make the costumes. Quite a few of them ask me to, tailor their pants and things like that. Because so they know I sew. They know about the costumes. I do keep my cosplay stuff on a separate page than my personal page. But quite a few of them follow it. And I know that I haven't had any negative interactions at my job, personally. A lot of people actually ask, like, oh, what are you working on now? And I can't wait to see the pictures. I know people do, though, have some negative reactions from family or their workplace, which is unfortunate. But, so far at my job, people are kind of like, oh, that's really cool that
They're more
you do
supportive
that.
of
Oh,
it.
Yeah, definitely.
What about you, Prue?
I tune out the haters.
You tune out the haters?
Like, I'm sure people have, and I literally just forget it immediately after. Which I know is different than most people. Like, things like that will stick with other people, but, like, I know for a fact my family does not support this whatsoever. I tried to call them the day after we won an award at WonderCon, and both of them didn't answer until, like, 2 days later. So I'm like, your loss, I'm going to enjoy my joy. And
can't pop my bubble.
Exactly. So I definitely keep a very strong bubble of happiness around me, and I totally tune out the haters. So I can't like give specific story or anything for people who are like, you're supposed to be 27. Why are you acting like a 12-year-old? And I'm like, because I have a smile on my face and you don't.
I have joy in my heart.
It's like, as long as you're not hurting anyone, like, you do you. Do what you enjoy.
Well, do you feel like if you did cosplays that were more scantily clad, that you might have a harder time? Do you think people would be less supportive of that if you tended to cosplay characters that were, like bikini or, showing more midriff or anything like that? Do you think those people might get a little bit more flack from individuals that don't understand what cosplay is?
Yeah, definitely. I think so, which is kind of unfortunate that that's the case.
We're lucky, not lucky, but like we choose Disney characters because we like them, but it definitely like sets us out from people who do like specific animes and stuff because
I know there's a lot of animes. My sister will do cosplay and a lot of hers are animes. I've never heard of any of them. I'm just like, it looks good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is, but okay.
I just feel like as long as you're comfortable, I feel like it's not really anyone's business. I understand where people are coming from, but I mean, you can see that sort of thing just about anywhere now.
And that's as cosplay as a whole, like doing specifically through Disney cosplay, like we have our own groups and everything online. I know like there are definitely like judgmental things people do just within Disney cosplay, like the cosplay community as a whole is this big giant thing, but then there are so many like subsections that everyone is in depending on what your fandoms are. So definitely like it's circles within circles within circles within
Sounds
circles.
very complicated.
Exactly.
Well, that's really cool. What kinds of, I know you guys have social media. Do you want to talk about like what you do on social media with your cosplay?
We were actually talking about this morning. We're kind of lazy compared to some other people. I personally like have a tough enough time coming up with things for my Instagram, but I like Instagram because when you like submit a post, you can click and send that to Twitter and send that to Facebook, and I can do it all at once, and it's across 3 media platforms and everything, but like Vero just came out after KatsuCon, and that's like a new one that I'm like, I'm not even going to attempt. I don't have time for another one. A lot of people do Twitch or Patreon. I'm like, how do you have time for this content? Like, we have real lives outside of this.
Well, do some people do this for a living?
Oh yeah, there are professional cosplayers. I'm not one of them.
I would love to be one.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Like, do you want to pay me? Would that be a goal?
Oh yeah, definitely. I kind of agree. I usually post maybe like 2 or 3 times a week. I don't want to, annoy people with my stuff. I just want it to be like, kind of leave the people wanting more a little bit. But as far as like a Twitch stream, I've seen a lot of people do those successfully. To me, that's a lot of pressure to like have something ready to go.
Yes.
That's interesting, captivating to people. And I'm like, you guys are just going to see a lot of me swearing at the machine and,
unjamming.
ripping seams out and stuff. There's a lot of messy behind the scenes things that happen. So I'm not sure if a Twitch stream would be something I would be able to do.
You don't think you'd ever do that?
And I'm a little lazy with
Motorcycle.
like makeup and everything. And I know when you're on camera for Twitch streams and stuff, like people will see you up close. And I'm like, I put on makeup for my cosplays. I am not a daily makeup person because I don't want to. So I don't need you guys to see all the bags under my eyes because I don't sleep. And
that's true. Can confirm.
A lot of people are like, how do you make so many costumes? And I'm like, I don't sleep. That is how I make the costumes. I'm up at 3 a.m. making a necklace for a photo shoot I plan on doing tomorrow.
So you even do like photo shoots. Both of you guys will do that too, just for fun. Like when you're not going to a convention, that's another way that you can kind of keep doing the cosplay. It's like you guys don't just do this for the conventions. You do it as kind of like a hobby, would you say?
Yeah. I mean, the photo shoots are definitely for like sort of a portfolio building of all the things that you can do.
And to put more stuff on the social media.
Right, exactly.
We need more content.
It's definitely like a record. And I love the photo shoots too, because now that we're several years into this, you can look back at those first photo shoots and see how much progress has been made. Not just like in the costumes, but in makeup, in wig styling, in all of that.
In posing and how you can actually embody the character.
Exactly.
And a lot of the times I'm behind the camera of the photo shoot, so I can definitely see like, oh, I learned how to, stand on my tippy toes to give a better angle to people. Like little stuff like that as a photographer of cosplay too. I'm like, how can I make your costume look better than it already does? Because it already looks great. How do I make sure other people see how great it looks?
Very cool. What are your future goals besides being professional cosplayers?
Please pay me to do my hobby, please.
Right? That's the goal for us all. Pay us to do our hobby.
I would love to make it a business somehow. Mostly I've made a lot of cosplays for myself. I have a lot of pictures of myself wearing them, and I started to feel a bit Gastonish about the whole thing. I just, there's pictures of me everywhere, and I started to get into dressing people that I know who think fit a certain character that I was interested in making the costume, not necessarily for myself. Now I'm kind of found that I'm a little bit hooked on making these costumes for other people. Yeah, and so if I have
list
friends,
a few of them. So you have Moana.
Oh yeah, the first one I made for another person was a Moana.
Excuse me, you made one for me.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I
was like,
I was Cinderella. I turned her into my fairy godmother because she basically is in real life.
I mean,
I try. It's one of my good characters.
So I guess that was the first one. But we had previously discussed that one. Moana was a little more spontaneous, I guess, where we had just been talking with a friend of ours who happened to kind of embody the Moana character. She looks like her. She's good at acting like her. That I was like, I really want to do this. I love her look in this movie, but I could never do it. Like, I just don't see myself as Moana. Obviously, cosplay whoever you'd like, but it's like, not for me, though. I don't see me, but I do see you. So if you wouldn't mind me dressing you, like, I will make the whole costume. And she was all for it. So, and since then, I'm very lucky that I have a lot of friends that are okay with me playing dress up with them.
Yes.
So you've done Fairy Godmother, Moana, you've done Winifred, most of Winifred.
Right, Winifred. Yeah. Hans, for a friend of mine from Frozen. Hans from Frozen. And then working on a couple other things as well.
That are coming this year. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned to be announced.
I have a problem of making things for other people constantly.
Yes, and forcing them into your photo shoots.
Absolutely.
I might have been a victim once or twice.
So Liz is very kind of, hey, can I make this for you? I'm like, hey, I made this for you. Yes. Show up. You're going to wear it.
Well, we recently did, just yesterday, we did a photo shoot where I had made a Pocahontas for somebody, and it was kind of my opportunity to be behind the camera a little bit. I wasn't taking the photos, but I was definitely assisting, and oh my gosh, that was so much fun.
Like a pro.
That was so much fun. Assisting in the photo shoot with a costume that I made. I was like, I want to do this more often. This is fantastic.
And then when she told me she was making Pocahontas, I'm like, ooh, I have a friend who could be Cocoa, so we have two people to take pictures of. Mm-hmm. So she made one for someone, I made one for someone. We dragged them up to Prescott. We threw colored dust on them. Follow our story. You'll be very entertained.
And it is a lot of work doing cosplay, but I think some people, they don't understand how much fun it can be. It's like a little bit of an escape for a little bit. You can enjoy a photo shoot or enjoy going to a convention and embodying a character and kind of getting away from real life worries, real life issues, and just have fun for a little bit. I think some people are just so willing to be like, oh, that's so weird. Why do you spend all that time dressing up? And it's like, why not? It's so much fun to leave my worries behind for a little bit. Who doesn't want to do that?
Who wants to wear a t-shirt every day?
It's a very interesting kind of fun, too. I think you can be at your most uncomfortable and you're still having, like, a fantastic time being a character.
True.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in Phoenix.
It's not you, so you're like, well, I don't have to be me right now, so even if I'm being weird or if I'm being ridiculous, like, that's fine because it's not me, it's the character.
Yeah, for Phoenix Comic Con last year. It's Comic Fest this year, whatever.
What was that? I didn't even know that was a thing. They changed the name?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was the fairy godmother that she made for me, and she was Cinderella as we were on the floor of the con. And being the fairy godmother was so silly because I'm wear these pantaloons underneath. So I was constantly lifting up my dress and dancing around people. I definitely think I photobombed way more in a goofy character on purpose. I was absolutely whenever I saw someone taking a picture, I would just poke my head in and make a weird face. And I'm like, I'm the fairy godmother. No one gets mad at the fairy godmother. And they don't. They're like, okay, she's a giant goober. Applause.
Yeah, I mean, Cinderella was one that I loved photographing, and the photos are beautiful, and the costume is beautiful. It's not as much fun to be her, though. I think the most fun I've ever had was as Cusco at Disneyland.
You have the most fun as
Cusco.
Absolutely.
Cusco is the most fun to be, because he's such a silly character, and people recognize him immediately, and you can be,
he's got a big personality.
Right, not rude to people necessarily, but you can...
Being rude is fun.
No, you can be, you can kind of act aloof like he does and just, a little bit of that, with people, I'm better than you. And they love it. They're like, oh my gosh, it is Emperor Cusco.
That's so fun.
Yeah, and when she was Cusco, we went to the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party at Disneyland where you're allowed to wear costumes. Mm-hmm. Which, God forbid that we would go to that. Who knew that we would have fun there? But,
Disney?
Sarcasm. But I went as Madame Mim, which, as we discussed earlier, is a character that not many people know because it is a Disney character, but it's
sad.
Yeah, it's from the 60s, so a lot of people don't know that character, plus she was on screen.
Who is Madame Mim, for those that don't know right now?
Oh, she was in a movie from 1961 called A Sword in the Stone. It's an old Disney animated movie, and she was only in the movie for about, I think it was 16 minutes. Yeah. She has a very small part, but she's wild, crazy, purple hair, totally mad. She's crazy. And she's one of my favorite characters from my childhood, so I'm like, you know what? A lot of people aren't going to know who she is, but I know I'm going to have fun playing her. Once again, I would never play her on stage because we discussed doing something.
And it's more of a simple costume too. It doesn't have as many sparkles or
it's got it's 2 shirts and a big floofy skirt and purple hair. But the best part is I got to dance around like a crazy person. And anyone who actually knew who I was,
show your true self.
Exactly. Anyone who actually knew who the character was, they would be cracking up because I'm twisting and turning around, doing flips and stuff, and people are like, yep, that's Madame Mim, that's what she does. And people who don't know are like, who is that crazy person?
Who's the girl with the purple hair?
Why is she flouncing around? And most people at Comic-Cons understand, nope, that's probably what the character is. I don't know what it is, but you can tell that she's doing something that that character would probably do.
Very cool. So you both have social media. Where can people find you so that they can check out some of these costumes? Prudence or Liz?
My handle is Ambrose Cosplay on Instagram. It's Ambrose, AMBROSE _cosplay. And that's the name that I use on across all social media as Ambrose Cosplay.
Okay, so if they search that, they can pretty much always find you.
Yep.
And she also has a Tumblr.
Yes, I Instagram, Facebook page, and a Tumblr, and I do have a Vero, but I have hardly used it up to this point, but that might change. We'll see.
And then mine for Instagram is at Prue, Prue, which is my name, _ductions. Because someone in like Germany has at productions as a solid word, and I don't know why.
So it's like productions, but with Prue.
Exactly, because I'm narcissistic like that. And then on Facebook, it's all one solid word, and then I honestly don't know what my Twitter is. Don't bother following my Twitter. It's exactly the same as my Instagram. I literally just send everything over. Twitter is absolutely nothing different content. Just follow the Instagram.
Well, I'll have these linked on the Facebook page to make it a little bit easier so people can find you. Do either of you do anything? Do you have any means of people sending you money if they want to donate to you?
Absolutely.
Do you have any Patreons or anything?
I don't have a Patreon, but you're always welcome to PayPal me.
Okay, we'll put that up there.
Productions@gmail. No, I do a lot of commission work to pay for these cosplays because they get so expensive through Etsy. So a lot of people just want to support me, but they don't want to just like give me money. So they'll commission like, hey, I want like a canvas because I have really good handwriting for some reason.
Yes, you do.
So I will like
a
just
copy machine.
Paint them like some sort of art thing, and they'll like give me money there. Or I do props and costumes, and I just do it all through Etsy, so that
Okay, well, we'll link your Etsy shop. Do you have an Etsy list?
I have an Etsy as well, although it is on vacation right now. But hopefully after Phoenix Comic Fest, that will change when I have a little more time to devote to that.
Okay, well, we'll link them both. That way, when you are up and running, people can check it out.
Perfect.
Any last words?
No. Yeah, if you've ever thought about cosplaying, just like go for it.
Start small.
I usually say, pick a character you like that's simple, so you're not overwhelmed.
Don't go big.
But yeah, a lot of people are like, I get messages on Instagram sometimes that are, first they ask how old are you, and then they're like, I've thought about cosplaying, but I don't know where to start. I'm like, no matter how old you are, do whatever it is that you would like to do. I don't think there's an age limit on cosplaying at all. And yeah, just like go for it. If you buy your first one, fine. If you want to try making it or, finding pieces at thrift stores, also fine. But just do it. Get your feet wet and give it a try.
Yeah,
see if you like it.
Very cool. What about you? Any thoughts or advice?
For cosplay in general, like that's basically it. Like start small, start fun, test the waters before you go out and buy like a $300 machine and grommet guns and all this stuff. Like test out the easy stuff, and if you actually enjoy it, then you can spend uber amounts of money like we do to elevate to more of a master level.
Well, and you don't need a super expensive sewing machine to
No,
start.
not at all.
My starter machine was $100 on Amazon, and it lasted for a good 8 years.
Yeah, mine was about
cool.
80.
Now, obviously, you're missing like some stitches that would be helpful and things like that. But it's a perfectly fine starter machine, and obviously a very good investment.
Definitely.
That it lasted so long, and I have my dream machine now, so all's well there.
Yeah, I definitely made about 50 costumes off of my first machine before it died. And I'm like, time to upgrade because I learned so much over a short amount of time that I'm like, I'm ready for the next level.
I'm ready for the big leagues.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you, Liz. Thank you, Prudence. You've been listening to A Shilling for Your Thoughts, a Papago Podcast Network podcast. You can find myself in the network on Facebook, A Shilling for Your Thoughts, or Papago Podcast Network. You can find me on Instagram at No Heidi Only Zool. Thanks. Bye.